What's up, everyone? How's it going? Welcome to today's market analysis or trade recap episode. Today, we were able to take one trade, one winning trade that is, and that trade occurred to be at 10:25 a.m., right at the end of market session. So, let's get straight into the factors that led me to actually take this trade and why we weren't able to take a trade earlier. I did mark out two areas where I think potentially a trade could have been made, even this area as well. But we have to validate or invalidate them because I'm not 100% sure, and we did not take a trade there because we did not have full conviction and confidence. That's why we did not enter there. So we just want to make sure if that was the right decision, oversee that, and do volume analysis throughout all of this, analyzing the start of market open to pretty much where we ended the day off, and do all of that within this video. And I'm gonna try making this video quick, not trying to over explain anything too much, but let's dive straight into this. So to begin, I want to go ahead and give you a bit of the context regarding the news. And today we did not have much news at all, nothing really to worry about. We did in fact have jobless claims at 7:30, but that did not impact the market much, and thus we were not too worried about it at all. Now coming back onto ES, let's head on the 30-minute. What we saw occurring, right? We have this 30-minute zone right here, and we did mark this out and we talked about it in pre-market analysis today morning live session as well, right? But here at this level, price has been holding this area very nicely. So, and now right at where market open is, around here, what we saw was that price was hovering between 30-minute and this liquidity right there, perhaps this liquidity as well. And Bookmap really helped us today as well. And and yeah, what we saw were all these levels. We were just waiting to see where price would go and if we have high conviction and support for us to go. So for example, we structured a game plan in which if price started heading up aggressively and we're seeing bullish barriers follow it and we see absorption at these barriers with the reaction, of course we're going to take a long targeting Bookmap liquidity. But on the other hand, if we see aggressive selling with following passive selling barriers, we see buyer absorption in there, see reaction, sure, we'll enter into the shorts targeting lower Bookmap liquidity. But today, we did not see much of that with too much significance and conviction earlier in the session, so there was no place where we would have entered because what we were thinking, right? It was a big, this is how it was structured. There was Bookmap liquidity around there, and there was also Bookmap liquidity here. Between that, price had essentially multiple ways it could have went. There was nothing hinting me that potentially it could have been hinting me, but there was nothing that I believed had high conviction enough for me to actually take a follow through retracement play to actually execute on, and that's why we entered late in the day. And essentially NQ is going to look essentially the same. Or is it? But NQ the sell-off was much more sell-off earlier in the market was much more emphasized. And on top of that, what we see happening is that we use a 15-minute instead of the 30-minute on ES, and this 15-minute was in that range of all-time highs. Looking at in the present, we do see a big sell-off here, so I'm going to research after this episode as to what exactly happened. But let's just dive in with our market analysis and get to what made me actually take the trade which I took. So let's hop back on the 5-minute and do exactly that. Just getting to that market open point on footprint as well. Okay, let's go straight to market open. Shout out to Think with Bookmap. As you can see, market open, and we have this Bookmap liquidity above and Bookmap liquidity below. This one is a lot more significant, but what is saying that we don't head up here first and then come down there? Or what is saying that we don't head here first and then come there? It would be a guessing game, and we're not trying to play a guessing game. We're trying to use conviction when we are entering our trades. So let's just continue to move forward. And as you see, now we're starting to see aggressive selling coming in. And we notice that occurring. You can see that on the footprint. Aggressive selling with decent extent of volume as well. But I was actually trying to take a trade here between this 840 and 845 candle. And what you noticed on not on Bookmap, but on footprint as well, is that we're seeing buyer absorption here. And this is valid buyer absorption because we're seeing volume at these areas. Here, high volume node area, high volume node area, large buying delta. Buying delta is unable to push through. And then we start seeing aggressive selling come in, which could further fuel a continual move down, which in this case didn't have to be too much further, but it would have been pretty significant. And that did happen to be one of the areas which I marked out here today to review. So let's just continue going there. And I'll point out the barrier once we see it. And it might have been this barrier, this tiny barrier that we've been seeing here. It's 110. We have 110 passive selling orders at that location. But think about it. You typically stick with that 1.5 times the mean rule when identifying significance. So let's just say that the mean is 80, right? Because you have 85 here, 70, 75. Let's just keep it flat around 80 approximately, right? So what's what's 80 times 1.5? It would be equal to 120. So although it's close to that, I would want to see something a good amount greater than this, but at least like 10 or 20, like this that we're seeing up here with 160, for it to be very significant. But let's just take a look. Ooh, let me see what happened there. The flash of orders that came in. No, that was not a flash. Oh, I think this. But yeah, here what we're seeing is stacked liquidity occur between 6305 and 6307. 05 to 6307. Ooh, so we actually do see that occur here on the footprint chart. 6305 to 6307.5. Yeah, 6307.5. So this should be the overall area which I'm seeking absorption from. And starts from this candle itself. And yeah, there's the buy orders coming in, are unable to push through. And now we see the aggressive selling start to occur from 40, and then we come back up again. Yeah, okay. It's full screen now, but here was a point where I was so close to entering. We had a significant barrier here. We started seeing absorption, but I wanted to see a clear reaction because realistically, what makes it so that this barrier doesn't break and potentially use one of these upper barriers to continue going down? And as we entered into it, we did make a small reaction, but with that reaction, we essentially took out most of it. And I want to see that selling kick in aggressively, and I'm not really seeing any red bubbles there. I'm not seeing what I'm looking for when it comes to a proper reaction. If we had seen a reaction, for example, I would want to see price, start seeing aggressive selling likely until 530 no 6302.5. And if we would have seen something of that nature, 6302.5 around here, let's say, we would have kept our stop, or is it 5.0? We would have kept our stop at 5.5, and then targeted this lower bookmap liquidity or point above it. 1, 2, which would have kept us around 1.8 risk reward, which would have been perfect. But we did not see that significant and aggressive reaction from sellers. And did we? Ooh, we went to 6302.75. Okay, and another reason we did not enter it was simply because it's 8:45. We typically want to trade after 8:45. And well, again, there's stacked barriers here. How can we truly confirm that price may not want to head up here and then continue downwards? And we did see price continue going upwards. This is aggressive buying, very aggressive buying. Took out this 560 level. And then we tried coming up to that area once again. And then aggressive selling came in. I'm gonna be honest, I do not like what I'm seeing there. What I would like is just us to come into a barrier, see absorption, see a reaction, and then we continue, enter off of that reaction, place stop there, TP right around that bookmap liquidity, giving us decent risk reward, but it's with confirmation, increasing our win rate. While here, we came up and we broke through this level, and we came up into this level with continual buying, and then suddenly aggressive buying came in, and then now we have a splurge of aggressive selling. And you can see this in real time. There, we start. Let me just go with the big buying candle. There, as you can see, we're now continuing to go up. And I'm gonna just allow this to be watched in real time, just so you guys understand what I'm trying to say. We're coming up into that 6307.5-ish relative area. Buyers are unable to push through, but realistically, we're not inside any barrier for us to actually utilize that absorption with significance. Yeah, and it's very early on in the day. I would rather take something like this later in the day when there's not as much volatility that can be unpredictable at times. Because if we entered, we would have likely entered here and gotten stopped out. The second option would be to enter somewhere around here. But then what makes us say that these aggressive buyers that entered in here would not try gauging the market once again, right? That's why we did not enter the trade. Potentially we could have considered an entry, but I'm not too keen on it. There needs to be more testing done to see what patterns that this may provide in the market that we can consistently get alpha out of, and I did not see anything here that would have worked like such. Only thing is this footprint absorption that we could have relied on, but nonetheless, better to be high conviction and flat than low conviction and with the negative P&L. So let's keep going on with the day, and after this, we essentially head down towards our, yeah, here again, we head towards the 6300 level, but we do happen to break through it. Now here we come back up, but we're so close to that liquidity. Barriers are following us down. This is showing me that market has not found its direction yet. I clearly understand that price likely wants to head towards the downside. Two reasons why. This barrier here held. Now the barrier is following down. Barriers are following down. We're able to break through this passive barrier. And now we're stalling here, but we do have passive selling there as well. Leaning bearish, but no entry models for that bearish side. 958, 958. Yeah, nothing. And then after that, aggressive selling. We get into the barrier a little bit, right? And it's a little bit, it's very little. because we see it go from 380 to 290. So 100 passive buy orders would have got filled right at that moment, which may or may not be significant. I wanted to see more clear absorption there if I was going to take a reversal play from that. And if we saw a barrier from that, I would have definitely taken something of that nature. Simply because of the fact that it's not only right next to chart liquidity, but it also makes sense in the higher time frame context of the market, in which price has been maintaining this overall uptrend, as you can see here. So that's where higher time frame understanding comes into play. But we did not enter here as well. We did mark it out, but we did not enter here as well. Two reasons for this. I would like to see more absorption. I would want to see something where we see this type of delta down here at the lows with volume like this, and then movement upwards with high buying aggression. And we just simply tapped into it for literally a few. Let's just see. Tapped into it twice now. $350 went to yeah, the place is being held up very nicely. Those buyers or sellers are not able to come in. Like for example, this would have definitely been something that I would like to trade. But simply because of the fact that we did not see such clear absorption, although this barrier was very, very significant, it was this magnet. I would like to see us get a bit more into this barrier, see more clear seller absorption, and with that seller absorption, we could take a long. I mean, here we do see selling absorption to an extent. As you can see here, and potentially we could have entered. Maybe we have to be more on the lookout, and maybe this would have been something that we missed. But I'm 50-50 on that, and I would likely need more testing to confirm alpha there as well. Because we are seeing selling delta there, and then we're seeing selling delta there with the power and introduction of aggressive buying with high volume, which could be showing us that selling was trying to occur, but passive buying was occurring alongside aggressive buying, essentially exhausting the sellers out, resulting in a move up. But once again, just potential. What I would have liked to see is a barrier that would have popped up after this pop up. It's like sounds like a repetition, but I wanted to see after this move up, I want to see the barrier that followed, retracement into the barrier, absorption, taking longs. Unfortunately, we did not happen to see that for a while. And I can just skip through this entire part. It's right between two levels of liquidity. We have that 6310 area. We just come up, nothing that we could have played off of there. Now here we do see absorption, I believe, right at 920. Yeah, right here. We start seeing large amounts of volume there, large amounts of buying delta, then selling follow through. Once again, I did not enter this one as well because, first of all, we're so close to 6310 liquidity. We do have this target, but what tells us that they could have gotten absorbed? We come back down, and buyers come back in again just to take this liquidity. If it was a more significant area, then potentially we could have taken shorts there and caught in a move of this nature. But there's no recent and close by targets that haven't been touched into already. As you see, we almost come back down to that level. And we start seeing buyer icebergs, seller icebergs, and we start seeing our pop back up. as you can see. Now I'm just gonna skip through like this until we're at 945. Now here we're seeing another barrier at the similar location. And buyers do happen to break through this pretty easily now, as you can see. We head into the next level and we're able to break that as well with very aggressive buying. Now here, what that has identified to me is that buying has shown aggression in the market. Now, if we can see potential liquidity flip, we can potentially take longs once again because we are seeing high impact liquidity up at 6320 and at this level here around 6315, which we did have marked out once again. We had 6310, 6312.75. We had 6320. We had it all marked out. But here, I believe we might have retraced. Yeah, we come in between two levels, take out the upper level, and now here. This was the area where I was planning to potentially enter. Why? First of all, we swept this liquidity, came up. Now there's targets for us to head towards above. Then we were prevented from going higher with this area, but we've taken it out now. Now selling is coming in, but now there is now passive buyers at the area that where potentially passive sellers were aggressively, which is a pretty bullish sign. With that in play, I was with high conviction that if we enter into this main part of the barrier and see seller absorption, we'll enter into the longs. And as you notice, we do not even enter into that barrier. I'll show you. Where was that? 945. We come in towards that relative area and we don't even enter into too much. So I did not enter any position there as well. And buying is going up. I'm seeing kind of FOMO now, but we're just staying patient within this entire process. Buying is continuing to come. Now look at this. We're seeing more barriers here form on the downside. We're again simply waiting for that, what should I say, retracement and absorption from that barrier. Now here we're just stalling. And finally, right around 10 a.m., what we saw was that buying actually tried to come in, but was unable to. Now selling came in. And here we have potential selling absorption. Not at a barrier, but we had that seller absorption. It was more at that relative stack liquidity area and we're not necessarily in it completely. So we did not enter off that. But we do identify that within these three bars right here. Then price moves up again. We come towards this upper level, almost take it out, or we do take it out. Let's see. I do believe we happen to take it out, do we? Ooh. Ooh, here we might have been able to enter, but we just stalled on it. In that 10-10 candle. Yeah, right here. So yeah, we did not see any entry at all at 945-ish area, which is this area, right? Because we did not get into that area. So this area, likely no entry. The first area, likely no entry. Maybe an entry there, but 50-50. Here, we likely could have saw an entry. But I think the reason why we did not, once again, is that, like we saw before, we entered into that relative area a little bit, So what stops us from using that as fuel and coming down, heading down even further? There's nothing significant. I want to see absorption at this level, and I do think that we took out this liquidity. I don't know if we break through it. I think we might. No, we do not. But yeah, after that, I'm pretty sure this upper liquidity breaks. So yeah, I think potentially this area we definitely could have got an entry from, simply because we clearly see absorption here. There's targets towards the upside. Ooh, I remember now. The reason that we did not take the long was because it did not make sense with the risk to reward mindset. And like, say we entered around here, 317. I just want to see how much 317, right? So right around there. Stop loss 1.5. So say right there, TP, it's at 2.0, so 1.9. It would be a negative risk to reward, or not negative. It would be a 1-to-1 risk to reward targeting 10 ticks. When we're so close to that top, is it really worth risking it and potentially being faked out or edged? Not really. So we just avoided that trade once again. But now here is when a pretty good high conviction trade comes in, and I'll show you guys what. Here, right here. Wait, what do we see? We swept this liquidity. We see price coming down. What do you notice here at this 6315 level? A big significant passive buying area. And that's at the same area where we saw the selling absorption before, that actually fueled this aggressive buying pressure to occur and take out this liquidity. On top of that, we have three nice targets that we can target on the upside. So there is positions and areas where price may want to head towards, and that's always good to see, and that's what we need to see. Now, this trade was good, but what I wanted to have and see better was us to fully get into this barrier and then see absorption for us to enter long. But what we saw was that price came down to this area, and that area we saw absorption. And we made a reaction off of it too. You can see that reaction there. Selling did not follow through after this aggressive selling bubble, and now buying did come in with decent strength. So we entered around 6317.75. So right around this time, and there's two reasons. Targets on the top, barrier defending us, saw absorption, saw reaction. We did not want to miss out like the multiple times we potentially missed out on previous day. We experienced a little bit of FOMO, which is important to avoid, but we used discretion today and understood that there was absorption at that relative area. Now we are seeing absorption again at that relative area, and we're seeking a reaction off of it. Things are defending us on the downside in case of selling pressure, and the overall spread of Bookmap liquidity does look bullish. Nothing is telling us really that we're gonna head down from here unless this barrier is broken and suddenly and randomly sellers want to come down and come all the way back down to that 6296 area, which is pretty deviated from where they're at right now. So it would not make too much sense probability wise and also market mechanic wise for us to head all the way down there. So that's where discretion came in, and that's where we entered, and it did happen to work out pretty well, as you can see. We entered there. I think we were in drawdown for a little bit, as you can see, but then buyers came in aggressively. The fact that we saw another buy barrier push up with price allowed us to move our stop up to 8 ticks instead of the previous 12 ticks. So it took us from a 1.42 risk to reward to a 2.13 risk to reward, which is always good to see. Now we do have this level here at 6320, but I'm not too worried about that, seeing the significance of this level and the fact that we've broken it already. But if we do start to stall here, I decided I would exit. And as you see, we do not stall that much at all. Aggressive buying comes in, takes it out, and we essentially continue up till our target, which was 50 cents, half a point to a point below this level, just so we avoid getting edged. And that's exactly what happened here today. Take profit hit, and yeah, one thing we did well today was being patient throughout this entire process, only waiting for these high conviction trades to occur. One thing we potentially could have done better was to be more attentive and avoid hesitation, and potentially not be afraid and get FOMO at times. But other than those things to a minor extent, I think this was a pretty good day, and we're taking a 17 tick winner any day of the week. But yeah, that's basically gonna be all I have here for today. If you have any other questions, feel free to join the Discord server. The link is in the description down below. Everything is completely free, and I truly believe you can get a thing or two out of it. Or feel free to also leave a comment down below. Additionally, I do want to say, if you guys want to start using order flow tools like Footprint and Bookmap for completely free, take a look at the link in the description. This Footprint tool has been pretty easy to access and pretty reliable tool, and Addis has been a channel partner for a while now. Listen, it is with a 15-minute delay, but to do what I'm doing right now, 15-minute delay wouldn't affect me. I do believe they have live data on crypto as well. Additionally, you want to start practicing using delayed first and then get into live. So you can start with completely free like such, and honestly it's much more easier than a lot of other platforms I've used in terms of footprint charts and other order flow, and they have a lot of educational resources on their YouTube channel as well. Take a look at the links in the description. Truly believe it's a great tool. It's a game changer for many strategies. But yeah, do your own research on such. Don't take my word for it. Take your own word. Just do your own research. But other than that, that's all I have here for today. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning for pre-market live, and I'll see you guys later tomorrow for market analysis session. But that's all I have, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.